Bonjour! I've been avoiding watching series lately, as I tend to binge watch when I start one. So I don't watch series anymore, unless I'm stuck in bed. But so many people were talking to me for a few months now about this new Netflix series, and since there are only a few episodes, I thought, let's watch it. It's clever, suspenseful, and short. This is of course the series Arsène Lupin with the famous French actor Omar Sy. This series has been making a hit worldwide since January, and according to Netflix official figures, it is now the second Netflix most watched series after The Witcher. So I'm sure there will be a remarkable increase in sales in Maurice Leblanc's novel too. But if you haven't seen the series yet, I don't want to spoil you. But I also thought that it was a great opportunity to research more about the main character's hero that inspired the show.
Imaginez, vous héritez d'un trésor. Moi, c'est ce qui m'est arrivé. Quand j'étais petit, j'ai hérité d'une fortune. Un beau jour, quelqu'un est entré dans ma vie et m'a légué tout ce qu'il avait. Des richesses incroyables, des ressources inépuisables et plusieurs vies pour en profiter. J'ai hérité d'un livre qui est bien plus qu'une histoire.
I'll just say that the main character stars one of French people's favorite actors, Omar Sy. Omar Sy doesn't personify Arsène Lupin since the series is not an adaptation of Maurice Leblanc's novel, but it is inspired in a clever way. Since it is not an adaptation and takes place in modern-day Paris, this also gives the show the opportunity to put into light interesting topics such as inequalities and racism in a different way. It shows how some people, often colored people, are transparent and not even looked at and often barely seen. This candid camera of Omar Sy shows how an international star is still sometimes transparent for being of color in France.
Aujourd'hui, on va vous prouver qu'au-delà de la fiction, même dans la vraie vie, parfois on voit, mais on ne regarde pas.
Premier jour. Vous pouvez m'aider? Sur les doigts, ça va coller. Merci beaucoup, madame. C'est très gentil.
Je vous l'avais dit. Vous m'avez vu, mais vous m'avez pas regardé.
But of course, I let you watch the show to make your own opinion. Before I start telling you more about Arsène Lupin, I wanted to give you a great tip to watch the series on Netflix and learn some French easily at the same time. You can use a plugin called Two Captions for YouTube and Netflix to have subtitles in two languages at the same time. So, for example, both English and French. But I'm sure there are also other plugins doing the same. So let's try to figure out if Arsène Lupin is only a novel hero or if he existed, since there are rumors saying that he may have. Arsène Lupin is a bit like the French Sherlock Holmes. Like him, he is a hero who uses his intelligence, his charm and his humor to get what he wants. But the big difference between the British Sherlock Holmes and the French Arsène Lupin is that the latter is not a detective. It's actually quite the opposite. Arsène Lupin is a thief, or more precisely, a burglar. Arsène Lupin's nickname is the Gentleman Burglar. He only burglarizes rich people who make their fortune in a dishonest way. A bit like a modern-day Robin Hood, except that he likes to steal works of art and generally keeps them for himself. But where does all the rumors about the existence of Arsène Lupin really come from? I'd say from the author himself, Maurice Leblanc, who cleverly maintained the mystery. Maurice Leblanc started to tell the adventures of Arsène Lupin at the beginning of the 20th century, in 1905, up until 1941 when he died. Maurice Leblanc loved to cast doubt on his character. That's why he presented himself as Arsène Lupin's confidant. The author was giving so many details about his life that people started to wonder if he really existed. It was so detailed that biographies of Arsène Lupin were published later on. At first, Arsène Lupin's adventures were published as a serial. One new episode of his adventures was published in a newspaper every day. And exactly at this time, impressive serial burglaries were taking place, and they were fascinating the public. So it is easy to imagine how people could wonder at the time if fiction had also a bit to do with reality. Or if Maurice Leblanc was just inspired by the big burglaries happening in the country. We have to remember that this all started before World War I, when France's economy was booming and the middle class, with the bourgeois, was flaunting their wealth by buying diamonds or large houses in the city center, during the period called La Belle Époque, at a time when the French society was extremely unequal. So obviously this gave some people ideas. And that's how burglaries became numerous, but also popular, since people loved to read stories about burglaries of middle-class people having their pieces of art stolen. Besides, it was also a time when anarchism was fashionable in France, and there was a young anarchist who became famous for his robberies. His name was Marius Jacob. For several years, Marius Jacob robbed the houses of bourgeois and representatives of power like judges or members of the church. His biographers say that Marius Jacob was using different identities and disguises for his robberies. And apparently, he was very intelligent with a great sense of humor. Does that remind you of anyone? But no, Marius Jacob was not Arsène Lupin. Some people think that the author was inspired by Maurice Jacob. But in any case, the truth is that Arsène Lupin is a fictional character. Besides, compared to Marius Jacob, who remained an anarchist his whole life, Arsène Lupin changed a lot during his adventures. Let's say that he has evolved with his author. He stopped robbing people and even became a detective, like his British counterpart. I hope this inspired you to discover more about Maurice Leblanc's writing, and maybe watch the series if you haven't yet. I hope you liked this sneak peek into Arsène Lupin's character. If you did, you can give it a like by clicking on the thumbs up below, and also subscribe to the channel for more French insider tips. Thank you for watching, merci et à bientôt!